I fed him when he forgot how to eat. I cleaned him when he couldn't walk. I held his hand when he thought I was a stranger. And when he died, my sister showed up, not to say goodbye, but to take everything he had left. She said, "You were always the caretaker. I'm just handling the serious stuff." I didn't scream. I didn't beg. I just smiled, because she had no idea what I'd documented. My name is Daniel. I'm 52. And for 5 years, I watched my father fade like an old photograph. Slowly, quietly, painfully. He was a proud man, a veteran, the kind of father who taught discipline through silence, not shouting. He didn't hug, didn't praise, but he showed up, always. And when his mind began to go, I showed up for him. My sister, her name's Rachel. 3 years younger, lives 4 states away, corporate job, designer apartment, too busy to visit, but she always made time for birthdays, especially when there was a will being discussed. When Dad got diagnosed with early-stage dementia, I left my job, broke my lease, and moved back into the house I swore I'd never live in again. Not for money, not for recognition, because the man who once taught me how to tie my shoes now forgot what shoes were for. The house smelled like old newspapers and fading memories. I found his meds scattered in the wrong drawers. He thought it was still 1997. He kept asking when Mom was coming back. She'd been gone 12 years. I built a schedule: meds, walks, doctor visits, meal prep, bathroom, bedtime. Every hour had a task. Every task had a risk. Rachel called once a week. "How's he doing? Any updates on the property? Do you need anything?" I told her the truth. I need help. She always had the same answer: "Let me check my calendar." It was always full. The first 6 months were the hardest. Dad didn't fight the dementia. He surrendered to it. Like an old soldier who knew when the war was lost. He stopped recognizing TV shows. Then family photos. Then me. One night, he called me John. That was his brother, who died in '83. I didn't correct him. I just said, "It's okay, Dad. I'm here." I bathed him, fed him soft eggs and mashed carrots. Cleaned the sheets when he forgot what a toilet was. I learned to read his silence, the way his hands twitched when he was confused, the way his eyes blinked when panic was setting in. I gave up everything: my job, my apartment, my weekends. Friends stopped calling. Then a check for $200. Then silence. She called on his birthday, asked me to hold the phone to his ear, told him she missed him. He smiled and asked if she was the nurse. She cried. I comforted her. I started documenting everything, every appointment, every prescription, every bill I paid from my own account, every voicemail she left. I wasn't planning revenge. I was planning clarity. The lawyer visited us one afternoon. Dad was lucid that day, said my name, held my hand, told me he was proud of me. The lawyer looked surprised. Dad said, "This house is Daniel's now. He's the one who's here." The will was rewritten that week. I didn't tell Rachel, not because I wanted to hide it, but because she wasn't calling anymore. Anyway, it was a Tuesday. He hadn't spoken in 3 days. Just lay there, eyes glassy, breathing like every inhale was borrowed. I held his hand, played his favorite record, an old jazz LP he never let us touch as kids. He used to say it was too good for noisy fingers. He squeezed my hand once. Then, nothing. I watched his chest go still. No monitor, no hospital, just me. A silent room and the man who raised me, finally resting. I called Rachel. She didn't pick up. I left a message. "He's gone. Call me when you can." She called 5 hours later. "I just landed. Can you pick me up at the airport?" I stared at the phone. "You're here?" "Yeah. I figured it was close." She arrived with perfect makeup and zero grief. Hugged me like we hadn't spoken in years, which, to be fair, we hadn't properly. Then she stepped inside and said, "So, what's the situation with the will?" Not "how did he go?" Not "were you with him?" Not even "are you okay?" Just business. I told her he'd updated it last year. She blinked. "What do you mean, updated it?" "He left the house to me," I said, "and what was left of the savings." Silence. Then she laughed. "Dan, you're joking." I wasn't. The next morning, I found a notice taped to the front door, her lawyer's letterhead, challenging the will, claiming mental instability at the time of signature, and citing unfair influence from primary caregiver. It was war, and I hadn't even buried our father yet. A funeral was quiet. Just me, 2 neighbors, and a pastor who mispronounced our last name. Rachel came late, in black heels and fake tears. She didn't speak at the service, didn't touch the casket, but cornered me in the parking lot. "You're not getting away with this." Like I'd stolen something. Like 5 years of unpaid caregiving was a heist. The next weeks were a blur of court documents and cold silence. She filed a formal will contest, claimed Dad wasn't of sound mind. She had one photo of him in a hospital gown, looking lost. I had 5 years of care logs, prescriptions, notarized visits, and his signature on a video recording. That's when I remembered. The lawyer. Dad had insisted on recording the will discussion. Said, "If Rachel tries anything, this'll settle it." At the time, I thought he was being paranoid. Now I realized he knew her better than I did. I found the file on a dusty USB, plugged it into my laptop with shaking hands. There he was, clear-eyed, steady-voiced, telling the attorney, "My son Daniel is the reason I'm still breathing. I want him to have this house when I'm gone. He earned it." The lawyer asked, "Is anyone pressuring you?" He smiled. "No, this is mine to give." Rachel's lawyer tried to dismiss it, called it emotionally manipulative. The judge didn't agree. The will stood. She left the courtroom without looking at me. Didn't say goodbye. Didn't even ask for a final word. But I knew she wasn't done yet. Because people like Rachel don't leave empty-handed. They come back when no one's watching. A month after the court decision, it started. Small things at first. Cousin Linda stopped replying to my messages. Old friends unfriended me. A neighbor crossed the street when he saw me coming. I didn't get it until I saw Rachel's post. A long, poetic reflection on elder abuse. She never used my name, but she didn't have to. It's tragic when caretakers manipulate the vulnerable, especially when it's family. Hundreds of likes, dozens of comments. You're so brave. I'm so sorry you had to go through that. One person even wrote, people like him deserve jail. She'd lost the house. Now she wanted to take my name. I stayed silent for a while. Didn't clap back. Didn't write my own post. Didn't even tell my side. But then I got a letter from a small nonprofit Dad used to volunteer with. We're pausing our invitation for you to speak at our event, pending clarity around recent allegations. That broke something. I wasn't mad. I was done. So I sent every document to a journalist. Not a big paper, just a quiet, thoughtful local voice who covered elder care and veteran stories. He met me at a coffee shop, read through the files, watched the video of Dad. He asked one question: why didn't you release this earlier? I said, because I didn't want revenge. I just wanted peace. But now I want truth. The article dropped 1 week later. The real story behind a son, his father, and a battle over legacy. It went viral. Not explosive, but steady, like a slow, rising tide that washed the dirt clean. Her post disappeared that same day. After the article, the silence felt different. No more side glances, no more polite pity. Just nods. A few quiet "good for you" from people who didn't have the courage to say it before. But I didn't need applause. I just needed stillness. I fixed up the house. Not to flip it. Not to sell. To live in it. New windows, refinished floors. I planted tomatoes in the backyard. Built a little bench near the tree Dad used to nap under. The same tree we planted when I was 10. I sat there most evenings, just breathing. Rachel never reached out again. No apology, no letter, no final word. And that was fine. Some people don't leave closure. They leave a vacuum. And you learn to stop trying to fill it. One day, I found a box in the attic. Old letters from Dad, journals, his Navy medals, tucked inside. A photo of us fishing when I was 7. On the back, he'd written, "My son Daniel, the kind of man I wasn't, but always hoped I'd raise." I cried for an hour, not because he was gone, but because I finally believed him. This wasn't a story about revenge. It was a story about presence, being there, when it's hard, when it's thankless, when no one sees you but the one who needs you most. And when they're gone, you're the one who remembers. And that's the real inheritance.